All right, good afternoon again, good morning or good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. Welcome to the third in our marketing automation series. Scribe has been hosting these series as a way to really educate our partners, our customers in the market on very timely topics focused around the marketing automation processes, marketing data, and just trends that are taking place in our industry today. Today's topic focuses on the cost of dirty data. And as many of you know, Scribe has a real core belief that data fuels everything. It's why we chose to be in the customer data integration business for so many years. And of course, at the root of data is the need for it to be cleansed and really to be valuable. So today we're joined by ReachForce, who's going to take us through some key topics that focus on this particular topic. So let me start with just, if I can advance this slide, just a few housekeeping items. So we do have voice over IP enabled for those that want to utilize that. You probably can hear us. However, the phone lines are muted, and we've done that so that we, of course, don't have any distractions because we really do have a big crowd today. We will be stepping through the presentation, but we will have time at the end of the presentation, which is going to be about 15 minutes. We will have time for Q&A. What we will do is ask you to please use the GoToWebinar panel on the right. We will read the questions aloud, and then either Mary or myself will answer them, whoever's most appropriate. We also will be sending a follow-up email to those that have attended with a recording, a link to view the recording and the slides. So if you'd like to see some part of this again, or you want to pass it along to a coworker or a colleague, feel free to do so. My name is Lynn Harrington. I am with our partners and customers on how the systems. But as I mentioned earlier, what's really important is to start with good, clean, impactful data to begin with. And I'm joined today by Mary Firma of ReachForce. Mary's the Director of Marketing and very knowledgeable on this topic. We are going to cover some of these particular items that are listed here. I think Mary has a lot of great information that includes case studies, but also really includes focusing on some areas that we may not be thinking about, where our data that is not 100% is costing us money or really costing us opportunities, which is even more important. She'll really spend some time on how you build your business case, and then things that you can do to really enhance that data. And of course, then we'll end with some great resources to help you get started in fixing this problem, assuming that some of you, at least on the phone here, probably are dealing with some of these issues. For those not familiar with Scribe, Scribe, as I mentioned earlier, is a company that focuses on customer data integration. It's really about bringing customer data to the places that it's needed so that your knowledge workers can really make the best decisions on where they focus their time and have the most effective discussions with their prospects, customers, partners, whoever they may sell to, so that you're really getting the most out of every interaction and really getting the most out of your data. So we've really focused in the areas of data integration and data migration, connecting all of your customer data applications. And that's why we're hosting ReachForce today, who's going to talk about really how to take that data to the next level. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mary, who will do a brief introduction and get started on the presentation. Okay,
Hello,
Mary.
Hi. Thank you so much for having ReachForce join Scribe. And I've been with ReachForce a little over a year now. My responsibilities are marketing and demand generation, and so I actually live and breathe the same struggles of our customers in my my regular job. So I try to think of myself as our guinea pig number one. And the things that we do for our customers and for ourselves are provide services to make marketing and sales data more powerful, to make it drive your leads to revenue faster. And we do demonstrate that through a lot of case studies, which we painstakingly report because our customers are really smart and they've done some amazing things with the improvements we've provided them. So we have data solutions that allow landing page web forms with even just a few fields to deliver a survey's worth of data. For example, if you were to fill out a webinar registration form, you might only ask 5 questions, but our solution can append another 85 pieces of data to that form, which then really pushes your marketing programs forward in terms of trying to get all the data that you need from prospects to start marketing to them more specifically. Another big issue, and this is really, I would say, probably one that affects anyone with a legacy system, and that is data cleansing and data quality, data completeness. So these are solutions that we provide both in CRM and also we provide them in a platform agnostic way to any user, whether it's Microsoft Dynamics or any other CRM solution. We have things that help with that. So that's really what we focus on, and that's so for me, talking about marketing data, studying marketing data, looking at how to do things better, and then teaching how to do things better is something I get a lot of pleasure from, and I feel very fortunate to be in this role. So what I'm going to talk about is a presentation that is part of that research that we do here at ReachForce, and it's something called the cost of dirty data. And anybody with a legacy system, especially, you're working with Scribe, you have all of this data that you're able to now integrate into other solutions, make it available in more useful places to accelerate your businesses. Well, with ReachForce, we look at a lot of databases, and some of them could be 2 years old, some of them could be 10 years old. But there is always a cost to the impact on the business, but it's not been really well quantified. And that's what we attempted to do here. And so what we're going to do is walk through what is in your database, and what does dirty data mean from a marketing and sales data perspective, and what are the actual impacts both in cost and marketing program performance and ultimately sales that happen in a dirty database. And the other thing we've identified is there are real, quantifiable costs, so that it no longer becomes a fuzzy or touchy-feely issue. This is the type of thing that we've done to be able to let customers go to their CFO, their CIO, their boss, and say, it's worth it to invest in solving this because it's actually already costing us money. And that's the part people don't understand. And the second part of the presentation, we go through the same logic with the same sample database and show how taking care of the data problem will actually create a demonstrable positive impact on revenue right off the bat. So that's the kind of format that we're going to go through. And so if we go to the next slide, I think this is a great slide for the IT folks. It's our good friend. I think we have a dupe slide. We're driving in the background, so I'm not running this one. I'm just playing along at home. So I think that if we go, did we already go past? I think we're supposed to be on the Dilbert slide. My screen is frozen, so I'm not seeing it yet.
We're on there, Mary. Maybe
so
it's your
when we
screen.
get there, basically, yep. And you know what? I'm actually a pretty fast pipe, so that's sad. So I love Dilbert. I don't see Dilbert as often as I used to, and I think that this to me is just so perfect. And I come from a world where longer than I care to admit, I helped to implement a huge relational database project in my company, and this to me is perfect. And I think that when you're building a hard-coded database that takes 100 people and every field was decided a year and a half ago, you have a pretty clean structure. When you're dealing with fields that, everybody's an admin in Salesforce, for example, and can create a field on the fly and is suddenly available, you can get some data problems in a hurry. What I think we're demonstrating here is the point that with, a dirty marketing database, you're going to get into this just through the natural erosion of contact, because people, unlike Lynn, who stayed at Scribe for 15 years, people in marketing are typically in their job for 19 months. And a lot of companies are changing jobs frequently, especially in IT. So you're going to see, we've benchmarked the amount of dirty data that is coming simply from people changing jobs, and this is an ongoing problem. It's sort of like the forces of the tides. It just can't be stopped. And when you aren't keeping up with these changes in your data, what happens is that you start sending out marketing materials, emails, setting up landing pages and offers that are off target. You could potentially be addressing the wrong person in an email, which makes you look unprofessional as an organization. And certainly, not only will your marketing programs have a poor performance, you're going to get a lot of people unsubscribing from your programs because they're not targeted enough to seem relevant, and people just can't spare the time for things that come to their inbox and waste their time. So what we do is we'll go to our customers and we help with cleaning and enriching the data. And we did a case study that we presented this April, and it was for Crane Communications, which publishes magazines like Advertising Age, and in this case it was their business insurance publication. And they hired ReachForce to come in and deal with what was already a pretty good database. Their subscribers who liked the publication, they were getting about a 91% deliverability on email when they started. They hadn't enriched everything. They didn't have the full industry information, SIC code, mailing address, revenue bands, things like that. ReachForce supplies as part of our enrichment. And once we did that, tested and validated all of the emails, they were finding that they had improved business results throughout every aspect of their operation, from telemarketing response rates that were increased 33% to a 460% increase in conversions to people signing up for their programs. They had one program where they took the increased, the enhanced data and were able to create a one-click webinar registration, which allowed them to get a 10x performance gain on the number of people who registered for that campaign. So it really made a huge difference, and they submitted their improvement case to Marketo at the Marketo Summit in April, and they won the Revy for the amazing new programs that they were able to create off the back of this data enhancement. So we were thrilled both for their business successes and for their win of this prestigious award. And so that's an example of when you have great marketing data and you use it well, the kind of gains that are possible. And so what are the biggest challenges for marketers with their customer data? And this is, we're just focusing on the top 5 here. And so this is a huge area, the first one. And, right now marketers are starting to control more and more of the software budget, whether it's for different types of data enrichment tools or for marketing automation software. At the end of the day, we may be reporting on the number of programs that we have launched, or the number that marketing programs have contributed revenue. That is the new challenge for marketing. And in order to do this, we need to be able to have good data integrity and tie these programs throughout the funnel from the top to the bottom in that sales closed won. And so 42% of the marketers polled responded that that was the hardest challenge that they were dealing with. And so that goes hand in hand with measuring results. So, one of the great things that, I learned from talking to one of our smart customers is, when you're measuring results of an email campaign, most of the time you're going to look at, how many people opened your email, how many people clicked through on your email, and ultimately how many people took up the offer that you made in your email. So those are sort of 3 conversion metrics. However, there's another one, there's 2 others that are really important, and they're negative indicators. One is what was the deliverability rate of your email? If you're not paying attention to this, you could be drifting into some very dangerous territory. We had an example with a client who was, for a number of reasons, including data practice, had gotten to a point of delivering only 77% of sent emails. So there was some significant problems going on, and they needed to be resolved because it had massive implications for a lot of the marketing program results. The other thing that needs to be monitored is your unsubscribe rate. If you have a low unsubscribe rate, especially as relative to your open and click-through rate, then you're probably sending good targeted emails. When you are getting a high unsubscribe rate, that is an indicator that your programs or your data has problems that need to be addressed. And the other thing is that when you have to replace those unsubscribes, that's another cost to your business. So I think that sort of, as we go through, this all actually comes off the back of managing data quality. You want to get a single view of your customer with your other marketing channels because you want to see how all of the touches are driving someone to purchase. But every one of these things is driven off of data structure. And so what we've done is we've taken all of this and we've put it into an ROI analysis, which this is an example of what we offer. We've changed the format slightly, but we plug in the database size, the average sales price, and how long it's been since your last cleaning, and we can output the bottom line cost to your business for keeping it dirty and the profit benefit to keeping it clean. So that's something that you can request of ReachForce at any time. You can just send an email to me, and I'll forward that on to our sales team. So now I'm going to get into the cost of dirty data, and so this slide sort of sets the picture for everything that we're going to be talking about. And if we go to the next slide, I think I've really kind of covered this, and it's the point that if your database, this marketing database, is what is going to drive your success. And when the marketing database has problems, I refer to it as a sinkhole where marketing dollars are lost. When it's functioning well, it's a treasure trove of goodness where your money will be made. So if we go to the slide after the one with the footnote, I'm going to start jumping into each step in this walkthrough. I don't know. I think there's a little bit of transition animation that is extremely slow in broadcast format, so my apologies. I should have removed that. So we're looking at a typical contact database. When I say contact, I don't know if some of you are using Marketo, but in the Marketo world, everything that you market to is a lead, whether it's an existing company, customer, or a prospect. Here we've just referred to everyone as contact. So contact database is the people we're going to be marketing to. So these leads and names are going to be people that you have gathered from your event, your field marketing, outside lists, maybe list trades with allied companies, webinar activities like this, or joint webinar activities, the things that you do on your website, the things that you do via email. Any one of those can be a source for names. And all of this information is going to be in an inconsistent format, almost guaranteed. So there's going to, almost by default, be gaps in your data. And one of the things we've done for purposes of illustration is we've provided a reference point of $1 per contact. And the reason is simply to be able to do the calculations. When we do these cost analyses for clients, like the one I showed you earlier, we actually can plug in any number. So, mass contacts can be as low as 65 cents. If you're acquiring curated contacts, it can be $3.50 to $30. That number is highly variable, so $1 is a good point of reference. And the most important thing, we're talking about B2B marketing. I need to set that framework because I'm not talking about consumer marketing. In B2B, it's not about the individual, it's about the individual along with their title, their company size, their company's business, their company's revenues, and all of those pieces of information that let your marketing and sales team know, is this person the right prospect for our business? And when we know more about a customer or a prospect at a company, if we know that they are a $20 million company versus a $2 billion company, those are completely different targets. It's also completely different if they're a $20 million company or a $20,000 company, because the $20,000 company may well not be a prospect for your business. So knowing that means you can not market to that person and make your marketing programs perform better. So when we target better, and everyone is at different, it doesn't matter which marketer you ask, everyone does their marketing slightly differently, and people are going to do things using different tactics. So you may just be marketing by title, you may just be marketing one message to everybody every week, you might be getting even into doing marketing by persona. When you have the complete data for each person, all of these programs work better. They're actually enabled by data. And in the case of, we have a case study with persona data. That's actually one of the drivers that can cause your leads to be moved to a sales ready stage so much faster by speaking directly to that persona and title within your marketing, outbound marketing mix. But what happens with this database? We're talking about people at companies, and they might be changing jobs. They might have left the company might have gone out of business, been acquired, have a different domain. So data quality goes downhill in business to business approximately 2.1% per month. So about 25% of contacts are not valid. And so I actually just noticed that it says 25.1%. Obviously, that is a mistake. It's 25.2 if I'm correct. So invalid contact may not be flagged in your database because autoresponders or enterprises are just receiving the email. I personally receive email from 5 previous marketing directors, all come to me. So whenever they write to me and say, "Hi, Evan, I'm not that excited about the offer." So when all of this data is just coming in from various sources, somebody creates a new lead in your CRM and it crosses over into your marketing automation, you may have a duplicate. You might have duplicates because the title is slightly varied, marketing dir versus director of marketing. All of these things make it hard to get good outbound. And when you have this, this is the situation, but then you don't have time to clean it, you don't want to clean it, you don't have budget to clean it, so you decide to clean your list by emailing it. Well, this is a very bad idea. When you're acquiring lists, they often have what are called spam trap emails. And spam trap emails basically say that if you mail to that email address, it's been created as a place to identify companies that are sending email without permission, because that's the sole purpose of those email addresses existing. And when you hit those spam traps, it may cause your company's outbound email to be blacklisted, which means it's no longer delivered, which has a terrible impact on your marketing program results. And all of these are part of what's called a listing network or feedback loop that basically informs all of the members and those that subscribe to it who are the best, highest quality mailers that have, for example, opt-in email permissions and are careful about making sure that their email is being delivered to a real person. And they are whitelisted. Everyone wants to receive their email, especially if it has a good open rate. People forward it to their colleagues. If you're sending bad email that no one engages with and they delete it right away, your feedback loop score is going to go down. So as you are sending out these emails that are kind of maybe not as targeted as they should be, probably going to the wrong email box on occasion or frequently, depending on how old your data is. And especially if you're hitting email addresses with companies that are sending you a bounce back that says this person has left the company, and nothing is done to fix that. That just tells the server, as this keeps coming in, boy, this person is really not paying attention. This is probably just some junk mail. And so low relevance generic messages, look at your historical email results. The thing that you will see if you have access to any period of data, you can see from those metrics, the open rate, the click-through rate, and the conversion rate on the offer, as well as deliverability rates and your unsubscribes. If you just line that up, you can see trends, where it's good, where it's bad, and you need to see how you rank. And if you're not ranking well, there's an issue with your data. So all of these people getting these messages that have no point are going to be reported back to this feedback loop, which actually is going to mean that there's going to be less of your mail even making it out. And we're going to touch that in a second as we go forward. So, we talked about just the data itself and the email address, but when we don't have the data points like the industry, the revenues, the size of the company, the behavioral data about what that person is interested in, you are only going to mail generic messages. It's all you can do, and they will show poor response. And this poor response from the recipients will affect your future deliverability. And again, so you're just not going to get the results that you should be seeing. So this is what's happening, which is an invisible problem to us in the marketing community, unless you know these because you've done the research. When you have a bad feedback loop score, or you've been identified as a junk mailer, or just the character of your mail just looks like pointless junk mail, like, I've been getting a lot of mail from Dr. Oz recently, which was pretty pointless, and my email server has already decided I don't need to see that, right? You might end up in the Dr. Oz list. And when that happens, you may not even make it into the quarantine with the Dr. Oz email. You might just never even show up. And so basically, feedback loops are used by big email service providers to decide how to cut back the amount of mail they're processing. And what is so important, it has to get through. So the higher relevance that you can create for the recipient, the more engagement, the more interested they are, more of your mail will be delivered, therefore you have better program results. Conversely, the mail that continuously is not engaged with, not open, instantly deleted, maybe flagged as junk, will give you a lower and lower feedback score, which will mean that even if your email deliverability says that you're delivering, let's say 89% of the mails being delivered, actually you might have only 50% of the people seeing it, or 65% of the people seeing it. So you're seeing poor program results. You're not really sure why. You think I've delivered 89% of my mail, but you probably haven't. So the other thing that we don't quantify as a rolling average, but we should as just a regular part of our marketing metrics and maintenance, is how many people in the course of a year have unsubscribed from marketing emails. And the more and more pointless they are, that is going to roll up into a pretty sizable number. If 1% of a specific mailing unsubscribes, and you mail once a month, and every time that happens, 1% of the people are unsubscribing, you just lost 12% of your entire database from live recipients that were willing to receive your mail. That's going to cost a lot of money to fix. So, as we go through this and you walk through this logic, because of your dirty data and because of your lack of information, the total email of your original 100,000 is now just 49%. So 49,000 emails are getting through. And so the response is degrading. And what is this costing you in real dollars? I mean, we can see we can feel the impact, we can describe it, but let's put it in a bean counters formula, okay? 15 cents a record to repair your reputation. What does that mean? Well, if you have some of your IP ranges, either from your email server or your mailing service email server, or your domain, if those get blacklisted for some reason, you have to chase down the reason. You then have to make the case that it shouldn't be there, and then you have to wait for the problem to be solved. And this could be affecting all of your outbound email from your executives, from anybody in your organization, and not just your bulk mailing. When you do this, you could be incurring brand damage, because no professional company selling to other professional companies should be sending pointless, unformatted, bad quality email. And if any of you have salespeople in your organizations, and this is not a slam on salespeople because they do things that marketing people can't do, but marketing people format our emails better. And because I get a lot of emails from salespeople at very, very good marketing companies who write really terrible emails. So those emails could be flagged as spam. So you kind of have to remember that those guys exist too. But so all of these, added infrastructure support, you're going to have to go to your IT department to help you deal with blacklisting. You're going to have to think about how do we overcome this? If you've created a big problem, how do you then repair yourselves and push you back into positive reputation territory? That sounds expensive to me. And all of this is your staff time, outside counsel. If you've done something really dumb, maybe somebody's going to sue you for a violation of canned spam. You're going to be incurring legal costs. And none of this is actually going to be bringing more good quality leads and engagement to drive more sales for your business. But if you want to give it a cost per record, it's 15 cents. Now, this is an interesting number, and this only takes into account marketing automation. All of us have databases which may or may not have an annual storage fee associated with it. In the marketing automation world, I think almost all of them are cloud-based. And some marketing automation systems, depending on the size of your database, the per record cost for each record in your database in marketing automation could be as high as 48 cents per record. And this is based on a 2012 benchmark of, I think, records up to 40,000. And other companies, it could be 40 cents a record. As your data scales higher and higher, that number could reach, it will come down fairly aggressively. But if you use this as an example, and this also doesn't cost, it factor in the cost of storing in a CRM, but 48 cents a year to store records that are actually damaging your reputation. But no one wants to invest the time to clean them out, so this is being incurred every year. You're just housing them, they're pointless, they're not customers, and it's affecting your bottom line, but you just don't perceive it that way yet. So this is how it all adds up. You're emailing and storing bad contacts, so there's a cost for that. And you're going to have to replace contacts that you've ruined through bad mailing, whether they're unsubscribes or they just don't want it, they haven't received your emails, and so they're just kind of off the grid. And when you add all these costs up, it comes to a pretty sizable number. That's a pretty sizable number for 100,000 records, and that's pretty much the cost for 1 year. And next year, it's going to be worse, because you're going to have, if you haven't done anything, you're going to be sending out to more people that aren't responding, more people will have changed jobs, the lower and lower feedback score. It's very difficult, even if you started to bring in good data on the front. So this is another classic thing. Maybe your existing data has problems, but on a going forward basis, everything that comes in on top is going to be good quality, have good data practice. I suppose over time, that'll get you there. It will be better. You will have better results, but you're still going to be dealing with so much legacy data that's dragging down everything overall that your results will not accelerate as fast as they could and should if this data problem was just taken care of. So now we get to look at the prettier picture. I like the prettier picture. And that's this one. So as we go through, we're going to look at where we're starting with this 100,000 contact database. And this is the same database. So at the beginning of the year, as we go forward in the slides, at the beginning of this exercise, we said this was a 1-year-old database, and 25% of contacts or so had gone bad over the year. And so they still are not going to be part of the what we're doing as far as our outbound mailing. So what are we going to do to I'm just waiting to see my slide advance. I don't know what it is about my location, but we're going to see what happens when we take the same group and we're going to clean this database and we're going to enrich it. Okay, so what does it mean to have a clean marketing database? So a clean database has had all the email addresses tested and scored for deliverability. And a simple thing that can be done, especially if there is not alignment between marketing and sales around what to do with records that, from a marketing perspective, we really shouldn't be emailing to, but maybe sales wants to maintain that, or maybe the people who manage your Sarbanes-Oxley compliant feel weird about deleting anything. So you can prevent them from being part of the problem by unsubscribing them. So the data will still exist in your system, but it won't be part of what you market to. So that gives you air cover for the marketing side, won't affect your results, and the data will be there down the road if you still need it. So And the next thing is you want to figure out which duplicate records exist in your system. Some marketing automation systems do a fantastic job of managing duplication, both within themselves and against CRMs that they integrate with. Others, there might be challenges. Certainly, if records are being created in completely separate, unlinked databases, if they are merged, you will probably end up with two records. So you don't want that. You want to merge records for the same person, combine all of the best information into one master record so that you do get that marketing attribution around that customer that everyone is seeking. And finally, you want to enrich all of these B2B records with firmographic information. When we say firmographics, it's the business version of demographics. So this would mean this business's headquarters, location, address. This quarter could be the company's global headquarters address, and it could be their global revenues, their global industry, whether it's the SIC code or the NICS code, how many employees they have, and it just depends on what kind of data your company needs to consume and market with. So all of that is then put into clean up your database. So then the next step, we're going to see what happens now, because we're no longer going to be mailing out to these records that have gone dark. We're not hitting spam traps because those are going to be identified through the email validation. And you have the information as part of your marketing outreach to now tailor messaging based on the type of company that you're talking to, the industry that that company is in, maybe the geography. If you're going to be going out on road shows and you want to be talking to people in the Chicago metro area, you can identify and focus on Chicago issues. So when you are being relevant to the person receiving your mail, you're going to see a higher open rate, higher click-through, lower unsubscribe, all of which is going to benefit your email deliverability. One of the things that we have built into this diagram, and by the way, this is available as an ebook, and we're going to give you the link at the end of the presentation. So one of the things you'll actually see, and we have seen this here at ReachForce, is when your email is really on point, really relevant to that person, you are actually going to get email forwards to other people who will then want to join your list. We actually had to change the footer on our emails to reflect this because people wanted to start receiving our emails. So when people want to join your mailing list, you are growing your database free of charge. And the case study we talked about earlier with Crane, they had exactly this result. They had higher deliverability and their results improved. So now that you can segment your messages, you have high deliverability, you're nurturing by these segments or by persona as the segments show more behavior information. Your open rates are going to be rising and rising and rising with your relevancy. Tripling is not unheard of. This is certainly something we've seen internally. We've had our unfocused emails. You might see a 5% open rate, which sort of reflects that ghost open that you see in Outlook. When they're on point and on message to the right people, they're somewhere in the region of 40%. So we have had customers that after their cleanse, they've been able to triple their email open rates, and their landing page conversions will double because more people are coming in response to your offers. So you're driving new leads with your database, which is kind of the whole point. And so when you look to, well, what does this mean to the bottom line? Serious Decisions has benchmarked this, and so for purposes of the equation and being able to just get a kind of overview here, we've added this number, this $130,000 number to the end result. But if you want to get into the detail of it, there's a 66% sales increase as measured by Serious Decisions between someone with a database which is 75% complete versus one which is 90% complete. So really, a 66% sales increase is driven by a 15% increase in your data quality. So again, we can factor that in if we do an assessment for any of you, but that's what that number is about. So as we go forward, what does this add up to? We're no longer having to pay for bad contacts, ruin contacts, or replacing contacts because our database is actually performing pretty well, even though it's smaller. So when we get to the end of the day, what does that all add up to? Let's feel like there should be a big reveal. There it is. So it's $189,000. And so this is we're now contrasting the difference between an annual regular loss of $83,000 versus an improved profit of $189,000. And these types of gains, the interesting thing is they become geometric gains because this model doesn't incorporate a lot of other things that can be done with enhanced, you know, business-to-business marketing, automation, so many other things. But I felt really happy when we concluded this project because it finally gives those of us in marketing that know this is a problem a way to show this to other people in an organization and start a conversation that can be really powerful for the whole company and the company's business. So that's really the overview of the cost of dirty data. And I have a tendency to talk really fast. So I have included a link here to the ebook, and I'm sure that we can make this available. I think I actually put it up on Twitter at the ReachForce Twitter feed. So if you don't want to write that down right now, you can grab it from there. So if there are any questions, I know that we'd be happy to answer them if I haven't talked too long. That's it for me. So I don't know, Lynn, do you have any questions? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Mary. Yes, I put up a slide here so that everyone can see that there are a couple of different resources that I think you'll find very helpful. One is the request for a customized assessment so that ReachForce could take a look at specifically your business, your data. And then there's also the free ebook, which Mary just mentioned, and that's available as well. So great resources for you to take advantage of to make an assessment. Also feel free to visit either ScribeSoft or ReachForce.com for more information about either company. And then, yes, we'd like to open it up to questions. So again, ask everyone to enter any questions that you have into the panel, the GoToWebinar panel. You can just type it in. We'll read them aloud, and then the appropriate person will answer them. Okay, and Mary, I think this question's a good one for you. The ROI calculator that you showed on the screen there, where will they find access to that? Is that in the customized assessment, or is that something included in the ebook?
They're actually separate. The ebook is just a PDF, which you can download. It's a little bit nicer formatting, so you can kind of go through that on your own. There's a lot of text on the slides to try to read during a webinar. The customized assessment, we're constantly evolving the ROI calculators that we use in the underlying assumptions. And, for the ebook, it's very, very high level. What we try to do with the ROI assessment, and you can really request it. You can just go to the ReachForce website, click Contact Us. There's a button there. You can send an email to sales@reachforce.com and ask for an ROI assessment, and we will sit down. And what we do, it's a free assessment, and everything is confidential, so you don't have to worry that this gets shared out with anybody. And basically, we just plug in some of these basic numbers that we went through and produce a version of the current costs and the potential profit from cleaning. And I was just trying to think, there's another thing that we are able to do for everybody, and of course that's the data diagnostic itself. So if you were to look at some of the information that the ROI assessment provides I find it really helpful because it's just one sheet that just shows you side by side in a very simple spreadsheet format like I demonstrated what it's currently costing you and what the potential benefit could be. We can also do a data assessment for anybody. We can take all your data, some of your data, and let you know, well, gosh, this many of your emails are undeliverable, and this portion of your database is totally incomplete. This portion of your database is duplicated. So that kind of information lets people figure out what are the next steps that need to happen. And all of these are things that we want to do because we know how important it is to get this right, and we know that everybody is different. So we don't have a one-size-fits-all. We tailor everything, but these tools are there so that you and your organization can make the best decisions.
Mary, another question here is ReachForce B2B only, and if so, is there a player out there that's really the best for B2C?
That is a great question. I think I'm not even going to pretend to know the answer to that question. I think because the whole B2C model is so different, because you're dealing with an individual, their their address and their buying history. Business, it's different. It's a person is a proxy for the organization. So I don't know the answer to that question, but if you were to send me an email, and you can it's hello@reachforce.com. That'll come to me. I can forward that to someone that I work with. His name is Brian Massey, and he does conversion optimization. We're actually doing a webinar with him in a couple of weeks. He knows more about the B2C space, and if he has an answer for you, I'll get it back.
Okay. Any other questions today? All right.
I think. Oh, sorry, Lynn. There was one thing that you had asked me earlier that we were going to just mention, and that is that simply, ReachForce. We do have integrations for some of our solutions, but we also work with anyone in a platform agnostic way. So, we're happy to talk to anybody regardless of what platform configuration they're using, and help them figure out, where their challenges are and what might be the next steps to take where they could see the most impact.
Great. Well, thank you, Mary. We appreciate your time today and your information. And thank you all for attending. Again, you'll receive a follow-up tomorrow with a link to the recording and the slides where you'll be able to look through this information in more detail as well. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you. And thank you so much for organizing.